Good morning, dolls, and welcome to Little Gretchen's workshop. So here is the video that we've all been waiting for. I know I've been waiting for it. I absolutely love styling the dolls' hair and really bringing their looks together. So I'm showing you here several hanks of hair. I have lots of different colors. Now all these little packets of hair are actually called Viscose, and I will leave links in the description of where to get it. Now, although viscose is really great to make doll hair with, there are other options. Now, this that I'm showing you here that's a little bit crinkly, not the gray one, the other one, that's mohair. And it's mohair that actually came off of an old coat collar that I had. I never threw the coat collar away, and I'm really glad I didn't because it comes in really handy and perfect for my doll's hair. So although I do like working with the viscose, the mohair is the perfect length, has a great texture, has a natural curl to it. So to me, it just makes really beautiful hair. So I'm going to assemble some little bundles of hair into some tiny hair wefts, which will make it easier to apply it to the doll's head. Now, when I get to parts that are closer to the hairline, I will use loose chunks of the hair, but to assemble the hair around the main body of the head and the back, the wefts make it really, really easy. Now I'm going to show you a simple way to make hair wefts. Now I make mine on a clear piece of acetate plastic. I cut it off of some packaging, and what I do is squeeze long beads of tacky glue and then pat the hair into the little strips of glue and allow it to dry. Now I'm not real serious about making the little wefts too perfect or straight because whether you use the mohair or the viscose, the fibers are very wispy, they fly away. But just do you a nice line of the tacky glue and just smash the hair into it. You can trim off the excess when it's dry. And don't worry, the tacky glue dries absolutely clear, so don't be concerned about that. Now here in this frame, you see me working with the mohair using a toothpick to press it into the glue because I'm trying to ensure that all the ends of the hair fibers at the top are saturated or covered so that when it dries and I pick it up, I have one full piece. And you see I make sure the part that's supposed to be hanging is hanging off of the edge to make sure it doesn't come in contact with any glue. Now I'm doing another color, so I've got another piece of acetate and I'm doing the exact same thing, and this is for some of my dolls that I want to do brown hair for. Now dolls, I definitely would advise that you do more than you need. I am doing multiple dolls at a time, so I don't want to have to stop styling the hair to make more wefts and have to allow it to dry. So here I have dampened some of the viscose around a wooden dowel to make a few bangs. Now if you're doing spiral curls, it would be a best practice to use a firm hold hairspray to make it maintain its shape. Now here are all my little messy hair wefts. They look a mess right now because they're wet, but after they're dry, they'll be fine. Now here's another brand of viscose, and this has a coarser texture. I really, really like it because to me it really, really works well when I'm doing my men's hair, but I just wanted to show it to you. Now I don't throw away any of the little clumps of hair because sometimes they work well when you're trying to do a fuller style and make it look bigger. So don't ever throw away your little fuzzy, loose, wispy pieces of your viscose or your mohair. Save them, you'll be able to use them for another project. Now here I am working with a curl for this particular doll, and remember I said I just kind of make bangs. This is sort of a bang that I'm loosening up because I want to twirl it around on the top of her head to create sort of like a bun style. Now you can see here looking at the acetate that the tacky glue dried absolutely clear, which works out really perfect for doing the hairstyles. Now, part of this is her original hair that I purchased her with. I didn't remove it because I thought it was really kind of cute. She needed more or less like a topper or something to go on top of her hair that's already pent up. So I created these little bangs that I'm going to assemble together on the top of her head to give her hair the look of a Victorian updo. So there are my little cluster of bangs to do her hairstyle. So now I've added tacky glue to the top of her head, and I'm just going to assemble them kind of in a circle on top of the glue on the top of her head. So for her, I'm more or less restoring what she had originally had. Her original bun had fallen off and it just looked kind of scrappy. So I'm just going to make it nice and full so that she'll feel good and be proud of her new hairstyle. And if you can see here, I just randomly placed all the little bangs in different directions to make it look as though they were long curls just all tucked up on the top of her head. And here I'm just tucking little dots of glue under some of the bangs to make sure that they all stick and none of them come loose later. And just pressing them in using my dotting tool just to tuck those little ends and pieces together. And dolls, you're definitely going to have to play. When you're wigging the dolls, you're going to have to play with the style. You're going to have to play with the curls. Again, this is another project that you can't just rush through because you want your doll to be happy with their hairstyle because it's probably going to be a look that they wear the rest of their lives. Now let's move on to this next young lady. Now I really struggle between putting her with the little girls or with the adult women. She's at that awkward age where she's not really a little girl anymore, but not quite a grown woman. So I definitely want to do something nice for her so she'll at least be happy about her hair. Now I'm going to use these mohair pieces for her hair because I already have a style in mind and this will work perfect for what I want to do. So I'm just gently pulling the little wefts off of the plastic, and it's really great because the plastic is firm so I can just pull them off and the plastic is reusable. Now you can see here I trimmed off all of that excess glue. That's why I said don't worry if your glue is a little messy when you're making the wefts. Now you can see I removed her original wig and they left a lot of hot glue stuck to her head, and it's really kind of lumpy and I really don't want it in the way. So before I add the tacky glue to begin to apply the wefts, I'm going to remove some of that old hot glue. Now keep in mind the dolls are still very heavily sedated, so she doesn't feel anything, no pain, and she'll have no memory of this after I complete her. But I just used my Swan Morton blade to remove that layer of hot glue so that I have a nice smooth surface to apply her new hair. Now be very careful if you're doing this, dolls. Make sure you hold the dowel very firmly and never cut toward your fingers or hand. Now I'll be able to add the wefts directly to the clean porcelain. And here I am adding an ample amount of tacky glue because I already know what type of style I'm doing for her, so I don't need to be shy about the glue, but I do need to work quickly. Now here I am adding one layer of the weft to the hair all the way down to her neckline. Now you do need to decide where you want the hairline to begin and end, and it may be a best practice to actually mark it. I didn't mark it. I just kind of know when I get closer to the face where I want the hairline to begin or end. So here I actually added a weft to the first layer, but I am actually pressing loose hair fibers into that glob of glue. And I'm doing several layers, so I just want you to know that it doesn't have to be exact because you're still going to get a really good effect. Now I am kind of brushing watered down tacky glue on top of the layers of hair that I put on just to smash it in. I'm actually almost creating a weft on the actual head. Now, dolls, I don't want you to be wasteful. I definitely want you to plan out what you want to do with the doll's hairstyle, but I don't want you to be afraid to work with this and to go ahead and just get in there and apply, get the hair on the head, and then you can style it. You do need to be mindful of what you're going to do. Now, for this particular doll, I want her hair in the back to be hanging, and then I'm going to make her kind of a bun on the top. So the back of the hair, I'm just more or less layering it in so it'll look natural and full. So now you see that as I come around the side of her hair closer to her face, I'm a little bit more cautious and deliberate about how I place the wefts along the side of her head because I need the hair to be laying in a way that I'll be able to arrange it on top of her head. Now you just see me here again just patting the glue and the water in so that it'll dry nice and flat. Now here I am using my needle tool quite a bit because I'm trying to press the hair so that it will sit behind the imaginary ear. So I gave her a little break to allow her to dry before I continued. Now, after giving that portion of her hair a little time to set up, I began to add another layer of hair to the top. Now you see I just squeezed out the tacky glue in kind of a U shape, and then I did do a nice glob on the top, so it's still just before you get to the hairline. And you see me right here trimming off one of those wefts, cutting off any excess glue so that it'll have a nice, flat, neat piece lined across the back of her head. And you see me with my needle tool pressing it into the glob of glue. Now, don't be afraid of the glue. Again, it's going to dry clear. Don't use an excessive amount, but you do want it to be enough that the hair attaches firmly to her head. Now you see I'm just pressing in that weft, just pressing it into the glue. Now you're going to see me from time to time take loose strands of hair and press it in on top of some of the weft, especially as I get closer to the hairline. Now you see me do it again here. This is just a clump of the mohair. I'm laying it in the glue on top of one of the wefts, trying to blend it in to camouflage the actual weft, because as you get closer to the front of the hair, you don't want to see the wefts. You don't want to see where the hair begins and ends. You want it to look as though it's growing directly out of the doll's scalp. Now again, dolls, take your time with this. Don't rush through it. You will have to play to see what looks best for your doll. Now you see me here splitting some of the wefts again as I get closer to the front of her face and closer to the hairline. I want to be very strategic how I lay these tracks. Now I definitely want to add fullness to the crown of her head because this is where I'm going to be pulling it up to make the bun. But again, I want it to look very neat around her hairline so that it'll look seamless and natural. Now keep in mind the way that I'm adding the wefts to her hair is based on the direction of her final hairstyle. So I would say place the tracks in the direction that you would blow dry the doll's hair if you were styling it in real life. So now we're getting pretty close to her forehead, so I'll be adding the last layer, which some would call the closure. So I did cut a small piece of a weft and lay it just behind that last layer of glue. Now, dolls, I really like doing this particular part because I want her to have a soft hairline, not sharp and abrupt. So now that the main portion of the bulk hair is on close to her face, now I need to work on the edges to make it look complete. Now, dolls, I'm just holding her here to just show you where I am at this point so you'll know what I mean when I move on to this next part. Now, it's pretty close to the edge of her forehead, but I just need to finish it off with a closure. Now, here you see me adding a little bit of watered down tacky glue right around where I call the edges of her hair. And I'm laying it in all the way around her hairline, treating it like edge control gel so that when I begin to add the loose pieces, they'll stick into that watered down glue. It won't be thick, it won't be heavy, but it'll be enough to hold them in place. So to create these type of edges, I laid some loose pieces of the mohair in the opposite direction down the front of her face into the watered down glue solution. And you'll see me here again pressing it in, spreading it out, making sure all those loose hair fibers are embedded in the glue. Now here I'm just using a little piece of wood to just kind of press it in there and kind of blot some of that glue, but just pressing those little fine fibers of hair directly into it so that it'll be saturated and that when it dries, the glue will be undetectable, that you'll only see the hairline. And I know at this point her hair is looking pretty bad, pretty wild. She's probably looking a little pre-K, but you do have to let the hair dry in this direction before you begin to actually style the hair. So trust the process and be mindful of that. So while I'm allowing her to dry, I went on to work on my other doll. Now, I did have to remove some of the hot glue from her head as well. But what I thought was really crazy, her head had a hole in it. So I really wasn't comfortable styling her hair on top of an open skull. So I shaped the top of her skull with a piece of polymer clay. I baked it, and then I glued it to her head with Gorilla Wood glue. No doubt, this little skull closure is not perfect, but by the time I add and style her hair, you won't notice it at all. And here she is. I've added a full head of hair on top of that skull part. You don't see it at all. I'm actually working on defining her hairline and adding a few curls around her face. No, I'm just allowing you to watch and see what I do here. This is not necessary. All these kind of little extra details are not necessary at all. To me, things like this are fun. They look very realistic, and I think it's really going to enhance the overall look of her hairstyle that goes along with her personality. Now, here I am. The little girl's hair is dry, and I'm working on her hair to create the rest of her hairstyle. And I see I got a little bit of glue in the long part of her hair, but I was able to smooth it out with a little water. Now you saw that I braided her hair into a long braid, but here I am just kind of twisting it up to get it in a bun shape on top of her head. I'm sorry this is out of focus, but it was a little struggle trying to do that and keep myself from getting glue in places that I don't want glue. But here I am adding glue to that under layer and tucking it so I could press the bun into the glue so that it would stay. Now, I did have to hold it for a little while to wait for the glue to set up and catch, but it really worked out nice. I really liked the way I did the hair around her face, but your doll's hairstyle can be as simple or ornate as you want it to be. I'm just showing you the techniques that I use so that you can use them and modify them to work for your particular doll. So dolls, I hope this helps you to be confident that even when it looks like a mess, you can still end up with a really nice hairstyle. So now that she's done, let's check in on the other lady. And now that her curls are dry, her hair is looking lovely. I gave her a really high updo as well. And it just turned out really, really pretty. I'm very pleased with these Victorian hairstyles. And these were both made with the mohair. Now, I was trying to find something decorative to put in her hair. A lot of the beads and things that I have are way too big. So I pulled a piece of hair out and kind of wrapped it around to make it a little bit tighter so that it would stay in place and it wouldn't look odd. So now that all the ladies are done, let me show you each one up close. I added some little gold earrings to her ears, and I think she came out really cute. And although she's a mass-produced doll, she definitely has the little Gretchen's workshop touch. Now I just want you to see here, I touched up her hair to cover up that glue with a little black acrylic paint just to tap into those parts that got glue on them. And here's the little girl. I did the same thing with her, touched up the glue just with the point of my needle just to tap it in to clear up any areas that looked a little white. And here's another doll, again, a mass-produced doll, but I gave her my special look with her clothes and her hair and her makeup. I'm very pleased with her hair and how everything turned out. And I have one more doll to show you, which is an honorable mention. She was actually in the original doll dressing video, and she really didn't like her dress. So I updated her dress, did her hair, and got her all together. And if you all remember when I started to repair mass-produced dolls, she's the doll that had the robe on and the puffy, foamy body. She actually is the one that has the sandals on as well. I just love her feet. She can stand on her own really well, but she turned out beautiful. She's very happy. She likes her dress, her hair, and she's ready for her new life. So dolls, stay tuned, and I'm looking forward to seeing you on the next episode of Little Gretchen's Workshop. Bye-bye now, dolls.